Hey, Bio2 students, Mr. Yance again. Kind of want to pick up where we left off last set of notes. I talked a little bit about the ovaries, the female reproductive system, and how they are born with all these follicles, and then they lose them throughout their lifetime, and then they release some during the ovarian cycle. So this graph just kind of is a summary of kind of a visual picture of what I was talking about yesterday. You can see where the follicle gets released here, or the follicle develops into a ovum, an egg. This is where ovulation occurs, and then we get this corpus luteum around that. And then if the ovum doesn't get fertilized, then it disintegrates and then it gets shed. So we'll talk about both of those a little bit more in detail as we kind of go. You can see the menstrual cycle. We'll talk about that. I got an article I'm going to have you read because there's a lot of hormones involved with that, a lot of stages. So that's kind of where I want to pick up is what if it doesn't get fertilized? We'll talk about that. And what if it does get fertilized and a pregnancy develops? We'll talk about that too. So we'll talk about both directions that can go, okay, if that makes sense. So the oviducts in the uterus, I kind of want to show you a little bit of a quick video, and hopefully this is where we'll kind of start today with the oviducts in the uterus, all right? And just give it a second. It does take a little while for it to load up. It's kind of a slow one, but interesting. Here we go. Just got to get the commercial out of the way, so just be patient. Always got to have a commercial. Got to pay for the videos, I guess.
Within a week of conception, your fertilized egg, known as a blastocyst, will make its way to your uterus. The egg is about the size of a pen tip. In days, the cells in the egg arrange themselves into groupings. The inner cell mass will become your baby. The outer cells will become the amniotic sac and placenta. The blastocyst then sheds its protective casing in a process called hatching and burrows into the lush uterine wall. Around week 5, your developing baby is the size of a sesame seed. The cells that once formed the blastocyst's inner cell mass begin organizing and arranging, giving shape to the young embryo and forming primitive organs. Your baby's brain and spinal cord are visible through his translucent skin. Right around this time, your baby's circulatory system also forms, and his heart begins to beat.
Okay, we'll kind of get into that a little bit more when we get into the pregnancy stages and that type of thing, weeks 1 through 9. So, the egg, so basically, let's say the egg does get, travels from the ovary to the uterus via the oviduct or the fallopian tube. That's kind of the progression. And then the cilia in the oviduct convey that egg to the uterus. It's called we call that the womb. That's the common name for it. And then that uterus lining, which is called the endometrium, has tons of blood vessels. And that's what's going to basically give nutrition and nutrients to that developing embryo. And then the uterus narrows into the cervix and then opens into the vagina. So that's just kind of giving you a little bit of an overview of that part. We'll kind of come back to that when we get into pregnancy. So that was it. I just kind of wanted to show you the progression. So we'll kind of, I want to get through just the parts of the female reproductive system today. Talk a little bit about the male one, and then we're going to put it all together towards the end. So we're going to kind of circle back to all this as we kind of go, okay? The vagina, obviously a thin wall chamber that is a respiratory for the sperm. It also serves as a birth canal, so it's got a dual purpose. It opens up into the outside at the vulva, we call that, and it's got some parts to it. You can see there. I'm not getting too concerned about that. And you can kind of see there's the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, the fallopian tubes. There's the uterus. Then there's the birth canal. All right. All right, mammary glands are also part of the female system. Obviously, you know, during pregnancy, breast milk comes in, and that's going to feed and nourish that baby. All right. Okay, so that's kind of the female system. I kind of went through that pretty quick because I'll circle back to that when we go over pregnancy and we go over, some things with that, with menstrual cycle and that type of thing later on. Okay, so we'll come back to some of those parts. Male system, not nearly as complex, very simple, because we don't have to, the male doesn't have to worry about, carrying the baby and nourishing the baby and all those complex parts that come with the female system. The male system's designed to produce the sperm, the male gamete, right? So the male's external reproductive organs are the scrotum and penis, okay? Internal organs are the gonads, which are the testes, obviously. And then we got some accessory glands as well, okay? Oops, one too many clicks. I want to show you kind of an interesting video. It kind of shows you the design of the sperm. It's kind of crazy. You got to understand the journey it has to take to get to the egg. Okay, it's kind of crazy. So let me show you this real quick.
A sperm is in fact a cell, the function of which is to convey the genetic data of the male to the egg cell in the woman's body. When it is examined closely, sperm looks just like a machine specially designed to carry this load. The front of the sperm is covered with armor. There is another layer of armor under the first, and under this second layer lies the cargo carried by the sperm. In this cargo are 23 chromosomes belonging to the male. All the information concerning the human body, right down to the finest detail, is carried inside the chromosomes. In order for a new human being to emerge, the 23 chromosomes in the sperm have to unite with the 23 chromosomes inside the mother's egg cell. In this way, the first foundations of a person's 46 chromosomes will be laid. The armor system at the head of the sperm will protect this valuable cargo from all danger right through its journey. But the design in sperm is not limited to this. There is a very powerful engine in the middle of the sperm. The end of the engine is connected to the tail of the sperm. The power produced by the engine turns the tail like a propeller and enables the sperm to move swiftly. Since there is an engine in the middle, it will need fuel to make it work. This need has been thought of, and the most productive fuel for the engine, fructose, has been placed in the liquid surrounding the sperm. In this way, the fuel for the engine is provided throughout the length of the journey it will undertake. Thanks to this perfect design, the sperms head rapidly straight for the egg cell. When the length of the sperm and the distance traveled are considered, it emerges that this is relatively as fast as a speedboat. The production of these miraculous engines is carried out in a most expert manner. Inside each of the testicles, the sperm production centers, there are microscopic tubes of a total distance of around 500 meters long. The production inside these tiny tubes works just like the conveyor belt assembly system inside a modern factory. The sperm's armor, engine and tail parts are assembled onto one another in turn. What emerges as a result is a real wonder of engineering. We have to think a little in the face of this reality. How do these unconscious cells know how to prepare the sperms in the appropriate form?
All right, so that kind of shows you a little bit about it's a lot more complex than it might look, and maybe more information than you ever want to know. But it is kind of crazy. I love their animations with the speedboat and that type of thing. But it is an unbelievable distance. I think about that all the time. It's pretty amazing that we exist because that was that one sperm that made an unbelievable journey and got to the one egg at that particular timing to produce us. Okay, if it was another sperm, a different egg, we're not here, right? So, don't ever downplay that. It's kind of an amazing feat, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And this is kind of the male system, not real complex. There's a lot of glands. Probably the one I want to show the most here today is the prostate, because it is actually the one that a lot of people have. Older men have a lot of people have prostate cancer. I got an uncle that's battling that right now. So that gets enlarged, and a lot of men get prostate cancer. Very slow growing, very treatable type of cancer. A lot of people have that. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the male gonads, which is obviously the testes. A bunch of coiled tubes surrounded by connective tissue. Sperm forms in what we call the seminiferous tubules, 500 meters long if you would put them all together. We have these things called Leydig cells that produce hormones that are scattered between the tubules. That's an important thing. And the production of normal sperm cannot occur at body temperatures of most mammals. Not trying to be gross and disgusting with this, but I want you to understand that the reason, because you think about the female, their ovaries are inside their abdominal cavity. They're inside, right? They're gonads. The male system's on the outside because of the body temperature. Sperm cannot survive at that high body temperature, so it has to be on the outside. It sounds kind of strange to say that, but that's why in many mammals, that's why they're located where they're located, because the temperature is lower than the abdominal cavity, and they can develop and grow and do what they need to do. Okay, so you can kind of see another picture down here of how things are structured, and we're a lot simpler system, obviously, because the male just has to produce the 23 chromosomes that develop into a baby, right? Seminiferous tubes of the testes, that's where the sperm passes into a coiled tube called the epididymis, and then the sperm is propelled through muscular contractions and then exits through the urethra. Okay. Now, I want to kind of throw this in here, and in this again, you got to look at the whole picture, and I'll finish up with this. The semen that's produced with the sperm, that's got the fructose in it that they looked on the video, and that's what's going to feed that sperm and allow it to move. 60% of the total volume of the semen is contributed by something called the seminal vesicles. Okay, that's where that comes from. The prostate secretes things into the urethra through several small ducts, and it kind of triggers the release of those sperm. And then the really important thing, I don't know if you caught that before, but the urethra is where the sperm goes through. Unfortunately, that's also the same tube that urine comes through. So we have this thing called the bulbourethral glands that secrete a clear mucus, and that neutralizes the acidic urine that remains in the urethra and gets that out, so that's not going to transfer with the sperm into the female system. All right. So pretty simple system. Let's kind of finish up, obviously, with the human penis. It's got 3 cylinders of erectile tissue, and then that's what's going to fill with blood and cause the erection and cause the sperm to be released. All right. So the male system is it is what it is. It's a pretty simple system. but that sperm has to travel a lot further distance than the eggs have to the uterus. So they have to have that design I showed you the video on just a second ago. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Again, if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and have a great day. We'll talk to you later. See you. Bye.